Welcome to your High Vibe Business. I'm Laura Franco.
And I'm Donnie Boivin.
And we are here to help you create your badass high vibe business.
What does it mean to have a high vibe business? It's that business you're excited about. It lights you up and it helps you unleash that inner badass and really go for it.
You are a lover and a warrior, and you're here to change the world with your business. We will give you the strategy and resources you need to take this all to the next level.
You shouldn't do this alone. Start hanging out with other badass entrepreneurs and watch how fast your business grows.
You guys, Donnie Boivin runs a successful coaching and speaking business, and he's spent over 2 decades mastering sales.
And Laura Franco is an expert healer, 2 times business owner, 6-time published author, and spoken word poet.
Together, we're here to help you create your high vibe business. Okay, you guys, we've been talking a lot about business development. Today, we're going to talk about how to get closure on a sales talk and really how to assume control in those kinds of conversations. Listen, Donnie, this is a trick that I was not taught, and I need a lot of help in this realm. And I know a lot of people like me, healthcare practitioners, healers who are doing this thing, doing this business. They went to school for healing. They did not go to school to learn how to close a sale. God help us, Donnie. Help us.
Yeah, no, this will be fun. So let me clarify one thing. I don't like the phrase closing a sale. And y'all, people that love this woo-woo stuff are gonna love this because it's shutting it down. It's over. Once you close it, it's gone. Right? I like closure. And the difference being is you got to a result that you chose. So hear me on this. When you get closure on a sales call, it means you leave nothing lingering. It means you leave nothing out there. It means that you go have a fun, enjoyable, great, warm, fuzzy, whatever you want to talk about, conversation that has an outcome. And that's what I mean by closure. And that outcome needs to get to an agreed either yes, we're moving forward with something, or no, we're not. What most people hate is that get to that spot where somebody really wants to tell you no, but because they don't want to make you feel bad, they give you this, hey, let's talk about it another day, get back to me in a couple weeks, or some sort of tactic to try and get out of the conversation. Is if at that moment, if you'll gently say, hey, I get it. A lot of times when I'm looking at a product or service and I'm not ready to make a buying decision, I don't want to say no because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I want to let you know it's okay to say no, let's not move forward. That way we can go still be high vibe friends. We can still have a great conversation and there's not this creepiness of a sale in between us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And of course, you make this sound so easy. And, so you're on the phone or you're on a Zoom or you're actually talking to somebody and like you got all your emotions going and you're kind of overthinking it. And that's really the problem for me.
Yeah, but start out the conversation letting them know that there's going to be an ask. That's what I think a lot of people get hung up on.
I like this. Yeah.
Right. So if you and I were going to sit down and have a sales conversation, I'm going to tell you at the beginning, Laura, when we get to the end of this, I'm going to tell you about my business. And it's 100% okay to say, no, you are not interested in what I have. I just want you to be comfortable with that entire idea. And what that does, it actually empowers them to not go to that creepy space.
But you're not setting them up. You're not setting yourself up for the no by basically putting it out there first.
The no's already there, right? Most people, quickly, how quickly somebody makes a buying decision? Usually within the first 5 to 10 seconds of a conversation.
So you kind of already know it's headed in that direction
Well, I
either
mean,
way.
they know, and because
Okay.
the prospect holds the keys to how that conversation is going to go, right? So all you're doing for that prospect is filling in the blanks. Because when you sit across from somebody, right, I always look at it as it's mine to lose, meaning when I go into a conversation, most people know it's going to be a sales conversation. They know that there's going to be a chance to buy something or not in that conversation. So my job is to help them answer their questions to help them make an educated response. If I go into this whole thing and let them know that it's going to be a no, I mean, a no is okay, it changes the dynamic of the conversation because I promise you nobody's ever said that to them before,
Yeah.
right? It automatically takes it to a more professional type conversation, and it gets them more comfortable and ready for that different type of conversation, right?
Yeah.
So now as you're walking them through the entire conversation, it's really, really, really simple when they say, something along the lines of, I'm just, you know, I got other things going on. And a lot of times I think we can feel them wanting to say no, but they don't.
Yes. Okay, so you're getting me to something that I was taught by another coach, excuses.
Mm.
So when they start in, it, there's so many different ones. I can't afford this right now. It's not in my budget right this moment, this day, this month,
Don't
whatever.
and anybody who says push for it, I want to punch in the face.
Yes.
Don't
Okay,
push
so
for it.
turn this around because I have literally been taught this by coaches that say that you have to obliterate the excuses and go a
No,
little bit hard here.
no, no, no. Stop that. And the reason you stop that is because now you're forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do. My job when I'm in a sales conversation is to lay all the cards on the table. I'm so raw and authentic on a sales call. And I tell people, look, I can't guarantee you $1 million business. I can't guarantee you freedom. I can guarantee you I can get you as far as I've climbed in business. And if you want to come along for that ride, it's going to cost X. And if you don't, I get it. You know, but who am I to know what somebody has in their pocketbook? Who am I to take money from somebody who justifiably can't afford my products and service? If I'm talking to somebody who is telling me they can't afford it, I targeted the wrong person in the first place. That's on me, not them.
Mm.
Right?
So I don't have the time to do this right now. There's another one, another
Okay.
excuse.
So it's really, really simple. I don't have the time to do this. Perfect. I appreciate that. Thanks. Let's move on. Right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
because when you push to overcome objectives, and here's the truth. Only reason objections, I can't say the word, come to play is because we made them uncomfortable somewhere during the sales call,
Yeah.
right? That's the only
Yeah.
time that shit comes up. That's our fault. That's not on them. Take the no and then go back and analyze what could I have said different during that conversation to not get the time objection.
Yes. Okay, so we're talking about closing and having control over this conversation. I'm assuming that this is not our first conversation. So when you're in kind of a closure, well, it could be.
It could be
I
for me.
don't want to, yeah.
For me, it almost always is.
Okay, well, so there's a couple things to talk about there. You know how they say it takes 7 touches, 9 touches,
Mm.
whatever. And let's say you're on your ninth touch and you're finally having this conversation. You know what I mean? Like,
Call it.
yeah.
Right. So when I usually sit with somebody and I'm like, okay, let's look at your pipeline. For those who don't know what a pipeline is, that's all your prospects that could potentially do business with you. Okay. So you got them all in front of you. You got them in an email list, you got them, in your Facebook groups, you got them, wherever you have these people out, networking, business cards, emails, whatever. That's your entire, pipeline. If I look at that pipeline. Usually, what I'll do is I'll clear out 90% of someone's pipeline because it's full of crap. It's full of fluff and things that people are never going to do business with them. So when I'm talking about assuming the conversation, is in my mind, every conversation is a sales conversation. And if I go into that direction, and what I'm, guys, hopefully you're hearing me that I'm not the pushy sales guy. I'm not the hardcore closer crap. Let's go in and have genuine, real conversations, and let's get to a closure in a conversation. If I get to a point where in that conversation it makes sense to really pivot and talk about my programs and services, I'm going to tell them. And it's going to sound like, hey, Laura, this has been a fun conversation. I don't want to come across salesy at this point, but I have a couple of programs that may be a good fit in your world. Is it okay if I walk you through these programs? And by the way, it's 100% okay to say, no, this is not something you're looking for. And when you do that gentle move, now you transition the entire conversation into a sales call, right? And now that it's a sales call, you can go in and start asking more direct and specific questions.
And you were saying a minute ago that you usually get to that high percentage of the time in that first conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, how the heck do you get closure in a first conversation? I think that's, pro level.
Well, I would challenge that as pro level only because everything about your business and services. Your practice, everybody listening knows their business, their company, their whatever they do from a healing perspective. They know their shit, right? I mean, inside and out. Whether you can fix somebody or not, period, right? So when you're in conversations with people, quit talking. They don't need to know your entire background. I can't tell you how many people who have purchased products off of me, purchased services off me that know nothing about me other than a quick highlight reel. That I have a top podcast. I have, a business that's doing six figures. I've got a couple of Facebook groups and I do lives and stuff like that. They don't need to know my entire hierarchy and history. What most people do on a sales call is they treat it like a networking one-on-one. Okay, you get this half hour to talk about you. I get this half hour to talk about me, right? That's not how the conversation should go. You should go into these conversations 100% curious about them, inquisitive about them, get them talking. Who gives a shit about they know your story, where you're from, your background, right? If they need it, when you get to the end of the sales conversation, they will ask. Right. But
what if they're asking first and that's happening in the other direction right away?
Love it. So get a quick highlight reel in your head. So cool. Thanks for asking. So I'm Donnie. I've, spent 20 years in the sales game. I've got a top podcast. I run a pretty cool, successful Facebook group. I have a lot of private coaching clients. I do a lot of different things on social media. Tell me your story.
Got it.
Right?
I like that too.
It's quick in, quick out. And I like to think of it this way. It's kind of like a game of tennis. My job is to keep that ball on their side of the court at all times. Right? So if they hit through it at me, I want to knock it right back to them.
Yeah.
Right? So every time they ask me a question, I'm going to flip it. So they say, Donnie, tell me a little bit about your podcast. Oh, it's been fun. I've got 200 episodes. Curious, what do you do in your business? That's your outreach, your business development. I'm going to constantly be pushing it back to them, because once you get people truly talking about themselves, they'll go.
And then you may have that moment where you realize it is the good opportunity to offer that sentence you said about, can I share a couple of my programs? I think would be great.
And I think, it's in that maybe a little bit of the profile. And the only reason I said it is because it's a gut call. People often ask me, what's that moment? I'm like, you'll feel it, because you're going to get in there and you're like, oh my God, I can really help this person. But I don't want you to go into these calls expecting a close, right? Expecting it to be a sales call. I want you to go into it genuinely interested and curious about the person you're fixing to talk to. Because the more you dive into, the more you're going to uncover. And I think the reason a lot of people don't get to more of these conversations is because they're targeting broke people, broke, financially broke people, right? Is a lot of times I think people are finding themselves in conversations with too many people that even if they sold everything they have, could not afford their product or service. Yeah. So instead of working better on getting the right people to the table, they get to that creepy spot of selling a bunch of people that are not their ideal avatar.
Yeah, which is something we're about to talk about in our mastermind group in November, which I can't, actually, it probably is November when this is airing, but I can't wait for that conversation to do that foundational ideal client avatar work. Okay, so listen, you're in that conversation and maybe you've realized this in during the conversation, and you come to the conclusion that, or they're coming up with the excuses and just saying, not right for me. So what's the closure then in that conversation?
The
How can you
no.
just quickly get to the next, okay,
Yeah.
we're good?
Yeah. The no is the closure.
Okay,
So
so do you try to talk to them again?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
no, they're gone. They're gone.
All
And
right.
I don't want to say dead to me, uh, uh,
Yes.
but in truth is a no now. And people always say they may be a yes later. Cool. If they're a yes later, they can come to me,
Right.
right? Because if I keep trying to come back and sell them, I'm going to turn into that jackass salesperson that's just creepy and dirty. And they're never going to
Yes.
want to talk to you. There may be some point down the line where they flip the switch, they change the script in their own head, and they make the move and they can afford you. But that's on them. Get them out of your pipeline. They're no longer a prospect. Move the fuck on.
Yeah, and or they keep reaching back out to you because they want free coaching.
Yeah, dude. If that's the case, just be honest. And
Yeah.
that's the fun thing about the people need to remember. This is your business, just like we talked about in Facebook groups. This is your group, right? Right? You make the rules. And if somebody keeps coming back to you wanting free shit, get closure. Say, hey, I really appreciate this, but people pay me a lot of money for this advice. So I'm going to have to respectfully let you know that if we're going to continue on and ask any more questions, then we're going to have to come up with an agreement that you'll pay me to move forward. You'll shut them up really quick,
Yeah.
because the only people who want more free shit are people who are fucking broke.
Right.
And they're
Right.
not going to do the work anyways, because they're the DIYers, right? They're the ones that are like, oh, I'm going to go to the conference and event instead of buying shit. I'm going to listen to everything and then take it home and figure it out the fuck myself. And they're the ones that are fucking broke because they're only doing the DIY stuff.
Yeah, this is a mindset shift, you guys, that I
Better than
want.
a mind shit.
Yeah, it's not a mind shit. It's a mindset shift. Say that 10 times
No,
fast.
I'm
I
not
dare
gonna
you.
try. I'm not gonna try.
That's a lot of shit.
Great.
Okay. But I want people to get that really well. It took me a bit to shift into that mindset of doing everything myself, getting as much information as possible so I could do it all myself. That's not, in a thriving business, that is not the goal. Like, if you guys are doing that, you're in an employee mindset.
Yes.
That is one of the telltale signs you're in it.
I mean,
So
and
if
that's the whole reason we started this group, so people
yeah,
could invest in themselves, get guidance while they're doing this stuff, and we can get them to a point of bringing on teams and everything else. I mean, that's the entire idea behind that. Because if somebody doesn't put skin in the game, they're not invested. And if you're not invested, you cannot gain. Right? And either you're physically invested, mentally, emotionally invested, however you want to look at it, you have got to invest. And the one of the most taboo ways to invest is put money on the table, because
yeah,
people have so much money problems, which could be in a whole other show. But
yes.
but that's the thing, is you've got to go get to these real conversations. And I think that's what this whole thing boils down to. Start having genuine conversations and get to that point where you can seriously have closure. Do not let shit linger out there. When somebody says, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks, ask, right? And just say, hey, Lord, I really appreciate you saying get back to me in a couple weeks. This may not be the case here, but a lot of times when somebody's saying that, they really just wanted to tell me no, but they didn't want to hurt my feelings. Is that what's happening here? And they'll tell you, right?
Yeah.
Get closure. Don't let it, because when you let that stuff linger, it's just creepy feeling for both sides of the table, and you don't walk away high vibe.
Yeah. I hear you. I like it.
You know, so as you guys are out there on your journeys, just wrap your head around. It's a conversation. Don't put any more weight in it. Don't look at that conversation as your grocery bill. Don't look at that conversation as your electric bill, your cell phone bill, your TV, whatever, your fucking next book on tape, or whatever. Don't look at it that way. It's a fucking conversation. And if people think that it's what they need because you were so genuine and real, they will agree to exchange money with you and move forward. If they don't, they won't. And the last thing I'll leave you with on this, guys, is there's never such a thing as a bad prospect. There's only a bad sales conversation, right? If we're honest and true to ourselves, it's never their fault. Most likely they either A, they were not a fit for our business. Doesn't make them a bad prospect. They just weren't a fit. Or we said something stupid on the freaking call and we blew the whole damn thing, right? That's on us. And we got to take ownership of that.
Yeah, I like what you said about calling them on the stuff that they're saying just very authentically. That last thing you said about, can I get back to you in a couple of weeks? It takes a little, you got to put your big girl panties on to respond like how Donnie responded there. Like you have to move through the fear a little bit and say, what you said was usually when that happens, this is what that means. And that's it. Again, you make it sound really easy. And there are some of us who are like, oh man, could I ever really be like good enough to think to say that in the first place? But I think the thing that I would leave with is this does take practice.
Well, it does.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Hell yes, it is. And
Yeah.
make mistakes because that's how you learn everything. But I will let you guys know that I learned all of this by creating index cards as I was going through sales conversations, right? And I kept trying to figure out where was I screwing up in the sales call. Because I never look at the where is a prospect screwing up. It's where was I screwing up. And anytime I found myself screwing up, I would write it down on an index card and go, okay, how do I change it? What can I say different? What can I do different so I can come across more better and authentic? And what I realized on that particular, move was by letting them go away, I wasn't getting to closure. All right. I was letting shit linger out there. And when you let things linger, man, it gnaws at your soul. And it gives you a false sense of hope as well, because you're like, oh dude, they're going to come back and do business with me. And I like with coaching clients, somebody will come to me and say, oh dude, I just closed a $20,000 deal. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Tell me about it. They're like, well, they told me we're going to move forward in November. And I'm like, dude, you didn't close anything.
Yeah.
There's no business there. And they're like, but no, they said they're going to move forward. I'm like, there's no business until money has changed hands.
Yeah, it's good to remember.
Because all the other stuff is just hopium. I love that word.
Yes.
But if guys, hopefully this episode was really, really helpful for you. This is a great topic. We'll be doing more of this stuff at our live events inside the group as well. So, but do me a favor, please share this out. Tell one person about this show, this podcast. And leave us an honest review wherever you listen to podcasts, because those reviews are really the bloodline of how all this stuff works.
Yes, thank you guys so much for leaving the reviews for us, and ready to take it all to the next level. And visit yourhighvibebiz.com. You guys will find out that you can pick up a free mindset training there. You can learn about the online mastermind and the in-person stuff that we're doing here in Bethesda, Maryland right now. Thanks, you guys.